Hi, this is Abul Hussain coming to you direct from London, the United Kingdom, and welcome to another episode of the SMMA Mastermind podcast, where we talk about how you can start or scale a digital marketing agency, and we also talk about topics to help you deliver exceptional experiences for your clients. Now, if you are watching this interview outside of our Facebook group, find the link above or below this video, or go to smmamastermind.com, especially if you're in the agency community. Now, with that out of the way, I have a very special guest joining me all the way from Texas. Her name is Char Galpin, and she is one of the co-founders of 𝗨𝘀𝗵𝘃𝗶𝗴 Marketing. Now, what we are going to talk to you about today is actually quite important. It is about how you can understand consumer behavior to improve your lead generation and grow revenues. Char, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining me. Now, for the viewers who might not have come across you before, how about a little bit of an intro and what's your background story?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Char Galpin. Like I said, I reside in Houston, Texas, and our offices are out of Houston, Texas. But we work with clients all over the world. A little bit about myself is, I have over a decade experience in marketing, the field of marketing, ranging from traditional to digital. Digital specifically, I will say about a decade, working in all different sectors regarding healthcare, hospitality, nonprofits, etc. So I have had quite a vast amount of experience and education in marketing, specifically in the digital world.
Awesome. A decade is a long time to be in digital marketing.
Yes.
So consumer behavior, I suppose, consumer behavior, data analytics, all of these stuff, they're kind of big buzzwords. So, I mean, how do you describe consumer behavior, more specifically online consumer behavior, in a nutshell?
Sure. And in a nutshell, and generally, consumer behavior really it ranges for everyone. So it really is, who is your target audience? Who do you need to get in front of? That is the consumer behavior you need to look at. And what I mean by consumer behavior is, where are they getting their information? Where are they hanging out? Where are most of their time being spent? That way, as marketers, it's much easier for us to get that information across from them in areas that they're already involved in. We don't have to convince them to move somewhere else. So consumer behavior is really understanding your demographic and who you need to get that information in front of.
Well, that's a very kind of, I suppose, a great description. Now, in terms of example from working with your clients, when you pick up a new client or with an existing client and you are trying to, I suppose, create customer avatars or figure out who you should be kind of getting in front of, what are some of the things that you look at?
Absolutely. So this is where, it's kind of the ugly side of marketing, not the creative side. This is more the analytical side. So this is when you start actually researching your competitors, researching people, who are they advertising to, who are they targeting, and researching what you're trying to sell or what information you're trying to get across. Obviously, someone, it may be interested in baby supplies, that you're not going to target someone who's not about to have a baby. So you really need to start looking and putting yourself in the place of the consumer and saying, is this a message that will resonate with myself? Or is this something that I really wouldn't care about? And then really start looking and researching the areas and where all the demographics is, depending on the age range, depending on female, male, or however you choose to identify. And then just really being able to target that audience, again, where they are located. So this is kind of the back end of marketing, where you're doing all this research, you're looking to all these different channels and using the tools that you have readily available for you to kind of look at the data and analyze it and say, okay, this is specifically who we need to target because the product serves this community specifically.
And when you are doing your homework, when you are doing that piece of research, are you going mainly on Google? Are you using kind of third-party tools as Global Web Index? Or, what are some of the tools that you kind of have at your disposal that helps paint a picture of your consumer?
Absolutely. So I think, honestly, Google will be one of the first ones and the most easily acquired one for anyone starting out. And the reason why I say that is obviously the #1 search engine in the world. So not only can you search for haircuts near me, you can actually search scholar articles that are actually available on Google Scholar. So they really have a wide variety of research that has already been done and available at your fingerprints if you really wanted to really target a specific demographic. So again, I will say use Google, use your personal research as well. I like to create data and collect data in the sense that, I've used CRM systems where you are able to track all the people that are coming are interested in being able to really understand where they're coming from, what age group they're in, what source they're using to get to your page or get to your product. So really it's a variety of using different products. I will say CRMs and Google will probably be the top two for you to be able to really get a comprehensive look at your data.
Mm-hmm. And do you do any kind of like online surveys or focus groups to get a more of a qualitative perspective on top of the numbers at your fingertips?
Absolutely. There's a lot of A/B testing in marketing. And when you already have a product, you definitely want to do those focus groups. You definitely want to see how they react to it. Nothing that is launched has ever majorly launched. For example, like a movie or something has never been launched without having a focus group kind of take a look at it and seeing what their reaction is to it. You'd be surprised how many endings have changed due to the focus group reaction. And many, many pets have survived because of it. So with that said, yes, you need to do some research. You need to really test out your waters. If it's something completely new, start doing A/B testing. Use the same messaging, change the subject and see which one resonates the best with your email list, and then really take it from there. So there's really a lot of steps that you can do when it comes to researching your consumers. But I would say a lot of tests is going to take place to really solidify who your consumer is.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of startup brands, a lot of startup businesses and entrepreneurs, often they don't have huge budgets to go out and do a lot of market research, I suppose. Mm-hmm. They've got a product and they are keen to promote the product. And often they're not entirely sure of what segment of the market they should be selling to. So how can someone who is literally starting from scratch kind of cost effectively go about finding consumer insights?
Sure. So that's why I say Google is your best friend. As a person that is starting out, it is a search engine that's available to everyone. It's on your phone. It's everywhere. Really start looking as to the trends in market research that has already been done by marketers who are out there doing the research for you. For example, 2020 consumer trends that went out the window after COVID hit. And then you had to really go and start researching what are the latest articles that are coming out based on, post-COVID or in between COVID, however you want to see it, and then really look at the consumer behavior now. How are people spending? How are people being reached? There's less outdoor stuff in the sense that people are not congregating in movie theaters and restaurants as much as they were before. So digital really plays a huge part in it. So I do think for someone that is starting out, Google will be the best place to really start. And the best thing about Google search is that you don't have to now narrow it down to one keyword. They have elaborated this to be able, you can put a full sentence in there saying, I'm selling this, who is my market research? And they have the web crawlers really spit out a lot of good information that can definitely get you started in the right path.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you say, Google is kind of the library of the world, if you like.
Yes.
Great place to start. So a lot of these reports that do pop up in Google, you'll often find there is like a paid subscription. So, I mean, mm-hmm. Is there a way to kind of get the same quality of information with having to pay for hundreds of different reports?
Yes. So I personally like looking into Hubspot. So Hubspot is a CRM system. They're based out of Massachusetts, and they really have done a great job of kind of using a lot of their tools. They collect a lot of data and everything, and really start creating blog and newsletters that is free to the people out there. So they do a lot of these market research, and they word it in a way that anyone starting out doesn't really need to have or spend the amount of money to get this huge market research and data and then projections and things like that, where you're really able to get the tools necessary and be able to use that in your own business. Now, yes, there's a lot of out there where you have to pay and get all these memberships, etc. And it can be bothersome, but it really comes down to kind of drilling down and seeing which one is best for you and obviously your budget. Like I said, look at the CRM systems that are available for you. A lot of them have kind of that free until you have 50 contacts, etc. But they do offer a good blog spot as well as newsletters that kind of keep you engaged and keep you informed as to what is going on. And like I said, Google also has a scholar area where there's constantly free articles available regarding consumer trends and behaviors.
Okay, those are great tips to follow up on. So once you have done your research and you have some data that you feel is valid, that can inform your strategy, how do you actually kind of go from data and insights to applying it to your lead generation strategy?
Absolutely. And that's a great question. So once you get that data, you really, like I said, start looking into that for specific demographics, consumer behavior. Now, obviously, if you're targeting younger kids, then you want to go to where they are available. That will be your social media, your Instagrams, your Snapchats, your TikToks. If you're looking for more of a, 35 or 55 mother or more family oriented site, you're going to go more into the Facebooks, the kind of the ones that have been established for a long time. And it's because they are, getting a lot of their information, and then a lot of targeted are happening through, social media in that sense. So that's where you really have to, I say, narrow down as to what you're really trying to get your message across. I work with companies and I tell them, okay, what are you trying to do? And they give me everything. And I'm like, okay, well, let's focus on one step at a time, right? You want to create brand awareness. This is something you're launching. This is something you're creating. This is brand new. Let's start creating that brand awareness. So then we can start getting that word of mouth, that digital word of mouth that's so important now, and referrals. So, establishing your social media presence, being able to engage with your community first, and being able to really address that specific demographic, again, where they're spending most of their time. And a lot of that time is probably on social media.
Mm-hmm. And is there a way that you are doing social listening as well to inform, I suppose, your strategy? Or are you, whether it's through some sort of a tool or kind of manually going through other pages and groups?
Sure. So there is, just like Google, for example, social media, you can do some searches for hashtags. So, hashtag is not just there to be cool and put hashtag, 2020 or something. Hashtags actually serve a purpose. So a lot of people don't realize, but hashtags are actually, they're search terms in social media. So if you're selling a product that really, you look at that hashtag and you can see the groups that are following it, the groups that are posting, and really get a sense as to, okay, how big of a community is this hashtag under. So I think honestly, to start off with, and if you want to engage in social media, start doing some hashtag research. And, for example, Instagram, you can put the hashtag in there and see how many posts are popping up, how many people are using that hashtag. So there are some free tools out there in the social media world that can kind of launch you and help you get, instead of doing manually going every day and checking each group in person, you can search this hashtag and get to where you want to do and be in front of the people you want to get in front of.
Mm-hmm. And I know you offer lead generation as a service for your clients as well. Mm-hmm. When you're working with clients that are looking to generate kind of sales ready leads, I suppose, do you have a favorite tactic or strategy that you like to deploy that has, I suppose, worked well for you?
Yes. So excuse me, the one thing that I really like to do is looking at their website immediately. That is the hub. That is where everyone eventually goes to. If you're creating AdWords, you link them back to your website. If you're doing a social media campaign, you usually link them back to your website. So the first thing I do is really solidify the website and create landing page, create contact forms, and make sure that it is easily accessible to the end user. You'd be surprised how many heat maps I look at where people are just trying to find the contact us page. Make it noticeable, put it on the top tab, put it on the side, put it on the bottom of each section. Just make it easy for the person to be able to fill out that contact form. So that's really initially where I start with, is the website, making sure that that contact form is available and it's working properly.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've seen Facebook obviously has their native lead generation campaign where someone doesn't need to land a user to a website. You can generate a lead within Facebook form. In your experience, how do the leads coming through the Facebook forms compare to someone who's converting on a website?
Sure. Personally, I think as a person goes to your website and they fill out a form, from my experience, I have seen them actually convert into customers. When you see a lot of that ones coming from social media, and they do convert eventually, but it takes a little bit more nurturing. You know, I do see the ones that are already going to your website, that have read that information, that have read everything that they need to about your product and fill out that form to convert much more quickly into a customer. So like I said, they're both good in their own essence. You know, website conversions are really good in the sense that you already have that information and they showed enough interest to go to your website and do more research. When it comes to social media, I love it because it creates that brand awareness, and then you have that information to keep that nurturing going, keep that lead nurturing going, and being able to just keep in contact with them. And eventually down the road, they do become. So if you're looking for something that, like I said, makes it convert quicker, personally, website lead generation has been the best.
Right. And there's always a discussion around whether, you know, longer form copy on landing page works better than being to the point. And, you know, how long and how detailed does a landing page?
You don't have to write the next great American novel to have a landing page. That's what I tell people. I prefer, you know, enough copy, about 500 words, enough copy that you have your ranking on searches, that the web crawlers like your page, that you're kind of getting that information to them, but not overly the top where people are just like, okay, I've read too much, I'm bored, I have to go to work or do something and leave that page there. So like I said, I would say about 500 words is good. Enough content to have, again, rankings and show up on searches, but also enough that you give them that final boost for them to sign that contact form and then just, you know, be able to reach back out to them.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the visuals, do you have a preference for video over images, or do you find that, you know, images work better than videos or vice versa?
So we started implementing more videos recently. And the reason why is because from all the different websites that I've worked on and looked at the data, a lot more people are getting a lot of their information on videos or through the video option. A lot of people are clicking, a lot of people are engaging with it. So that's not to say, you know, we have more people clicking the video, looking at it than actually submitting leads, but people are engaging more with our page. So I do think video does bring some sort of, it just brings it to that next level, especially when it's something that is produced very well. And people are just, you know, they're gravitating, their attention span is very short. So you have to do something that can get them that information very quick. Sometimes with images, it's very static and, you know, you have sometimes to put a lot of words in there. There's some images that you don't, and it works great, but those are more established brands. So I say for someone that's starting out, create a really good video about what you're trying to do, some quick content and some good imagery in there as well, but you know, just highlight what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. And I do see a lot of my clients really like that whole video effect to their website.
Mm-hmm. And we know lead generation is one part of it, but the more important part is what happens after someone hits submit. So
yes,
from your experience and expertise, what should happen after someone submits their details?
Sure. So the biggest mistake that I've seen is when someone thinks, oh, we work on lead generation, we got the lead done, you know, and that's honestly the worst mistake. You need to engage your lead. You know, sometimes they fill it out kind of looking for something down the road, but you want to be a constant reminder that you're there. So this is where that lead nurturing comes in. And I think once a person hits submit, eventually what they have to do in the marketing side, or, you know, if you're trying to really create a nice, solid core foundation of followers, is really start engaging with them, making it understand that you have received it, that they have your attention. So initially what I like to do is kind of create an email automation. Immediately they get the thank you page, this has been submitted, so they know there hasn't been a glitch or anything happen along the way. And then eventually really send that next email within the same day or maybe the next day and saying, hey, you know, can you give me some more information? And really start getting kind of that two-way communication going. It doesn't really stop once they hit that submit button. Actually, the big work starts after they hit that submit button, because then you got to keep them engaged enough to be able to convert over as customers.
Mm-hmm. And when you're building out sequences, is there a sweet spot in terms of how many number of emails you have in the follow-up series, and in terms of what you're putting out to the lead?
Sure. So I'm a believer that you don't have to just flood their inbox, right? People will get annoyed and and check out of having or receiving these emails. So say initially, you know, they get that confirmation page or email, then they get that, hey, can you give us some more information? But then, you know, if they are engaged, if they are answering back, then it depends, you know, it takes kind of two different routes. So if they are engaged, they're answering back, they're trying to be a customer, then you follow up within every 3 days, every 3 to 5 days to make sure that they're on the right track. And then if they just completely, you lost them, they just haven't responded back or anything, put them into a bucket, put them into a separate bucket saying, okay, you know, when we do updates, when we do monthly updates or newsletters or blogs, send that out to them. Every 2 weeks, send them something out. I say every 2 weeks is great for those people because if they're not really engaging with you right now, they're not actively trying to purchase. They're just trying to find out more information. And the one thing you don't want to do is it's discourage them to keep following you. And then they say, don't unsubscribe, don't send me any more emails. So I will say, you know, spread them out, know what your demographic is, know your attention span. And that's where a lot of these analytics come into. And you start really noticing your clients when you look and keep track of how many emails you're sending out, who's reading them, who's not, who's unsubscribing. And then you can kind of really space yourself out based on that.
Mm-hmm. And when you are running a lead generation campaign for a client, what are some of the key metrics that you're keeping an eye on?
Absolutely. So lead generation, really, it comes down to, it depends what kind of campaign I'm doing. In the digital world, obviously, we look into what ads are being displayed out in, whether it's a web banner ad, a Google search ad, etc., social media, wherever the campaign is. So we really look as to see which one is actually having the most engagement with, which one people are clicking on the most. And then we also look as how many people are actually filling out the form or landing on the landing page and actually filling out the form. So initially, you really need to look at how many people are engaging with your ad, check that percentage, how many people are actually filling out that form, check that percentage, and how many people are, after they fill out the form, are actually engaging with you in order to become a customer, and check that percentage. And then you can do your adjustments based on how many people are liking which ad or not.
Mm-hmm. And in the whole journey, do you kind of deploy retargeting ads as well in sequence? What does your kind of marketing mix look like?
Sure. So personally, for me, I do love the retargeting ad, and it really depends, again, into what sector you're looking into. If you're retail, hospitality, etc., these are people that eventually will become buyers. And, you know, for example, let's take retail. You know, they saw a sweater, they put it in their cart, they had to do something, they forgot about it. So then you do the retargeting, or you do the remarketing where it's, hey, you know, you left something in your cart, come check out, and, you know, do that email, automate that email, that workflow to be able to, oh yeah, I still have something in the cart, let me go buy it. So personally, I've done that many times where I'm like, oh, I still need to buy that. So yeah, so I like to do a mixture of different marketing tactics, digital marketing tactics when I'm doing a campaign. For example, launching the campaign, doing the creativity and making sure that our message and content is secure, making sure that our landing page is working properly, but then also create a retargeting tool where if they visit us or they're visiting somewhere else that kind of is very similar to the product we're doing, then I target them. You know, that's why making sure that people understand that there's cookies, etc., in your website, also that they understand that process, because this is how we use that to make sure that we can retarget and remarket you. And then, like I said, then when they fill out the form, you hit submit, and then really the workflow automation for marketing lead nurturing begins.
Mm-hmm. And then if we kind of, I suppose, go back to the whole beginning of the cycle, where you're getting the consumer insights and creating your avatars, you know, how do you judge whether, you know, you have been able to successfully pinpoint the right avatar? And I suppose, how do you go about tweaking the initial avatar that you created?
Sure. So it really comes down to, once you start getting all this data and information, 35 to 55 on social media, etc. But then you're seeing that you're not getting enough likes, enough clicks, enough engagement. And then that's really when you start creating that adjustment. We're like, okay, so this demographic is, move it, maybe make it older demographic, or make it a little bit younger, Generation Z or millennials, and really start targeting and moving that until you kind of really get that winning combination, and say, okay, this is really kind of the age group that we need to focus on, the time of days that we need to focus on as well.
So I had you break up a little bit there, but I think what I have picked up from there is you need to look at the age, the time of day, and I suppose their interactions, and look at where you can fine tune, I suppose, if you're looking at gender, or if you're looking at age, if you're looking at time of day, and I'm guessing all of the other kind of metrics that come through in your advertising platform, in Google Analytics.
Yes.
So, I mean, we are very quickly actually running out of time here. You know, these we think they're going to take forever, but you know, time flies when you're having fun, as they say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've spoken about kind of, you know, getting the consumer insights and how that feeds into your feeds into, I suppose, your marketing strategy, and then how you go out and build an effective landing page, how the nurturing looks like. So what are the common mistakes that people make when they are creating a lead generation campaign?
Primarily, it's really optimizing their website. Like I said, when I'm creating a lead generation campaign, I need to make sure that it's showing up, you know? So I think that's really number one. Number two, like I said, is that automation. Once they click submit, don't forget about it. Keep them engaged, keep them informed. Even if they didn't buy immediately, they eventually will become a customer. So always just keep that in mind. And number three is really don't be afraid to just create a campaign. A lot of people are like, I don't understand it. I don't want to launch into it. Just, you know, try it out. You don't have to spend so much money on it to be able to just get some information regarding it. Everyone's budget is different. And I work with people who had a marketing budget as low as $100 for just AdWords for a month, to people who have, you know, $10,000+ to spend in just AdWords. So it really depends on your budget, but being able to be smart about it. And if you optimize your site, if you create a very strong website presence with just your website alone, then it makes it that much easier to get you some leads and generate your lead generation, as well as grow your revenue.
Awesome. On that note, Char Galpin, thank you very much for your time.
Well, thanks for having me.